Hello, everyone. Welcome to the District of Sechelt Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The District of Sechelt is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Sechelt Nation. We respect the histories, language, and culture of the people of the Sechelt Nation, whose presence continues to enrich this community. I'll call the meeting to order and ask if there's any declaration of conflict. I don't see any. I will start, before I ask for an adoption of the agenda, I'd like to note that today is the 25th anniversary of our CEO, Andrew Yates' work in a CAO position in various municipalities in BC. And I'd really like to note and thank him for his work and contribution to the work at District of Sechelt. Thank you very much. So I'll call a vote for adoption of the agenda. Anyone looking for any amendments? No? All in favor? That's adopted. And we'll start. We have two delegations today. The first delegation and proclamation is for the National Day of Mourning, Sunshine Coast Labor Council, with Mary Deacon, I think, representing the council. And I wonder, this Mayor Henderson, who's coming in from Ottawa, would you, I suppose you don't have the declaration, the proclamation there, but.
Oh, I do. Thank you.
Would you like to read it?
Well, yes, as I normally do. It's my pleasure, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, Councillor Shepherd. It's my pleasure to declare April 28th, 2026 as the Day of Mourning for workers killed and injured on the job in the District of Sechelt. And I thank the Canadian Labour Congress for everything that they do to support the safety of workers across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Ms. Deacon, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, councillors, and staff. Thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of the Sunshine Coast Labour Council regarding the National Day of Mourning, observed annually on April 28th. This day is a solemn reminder of workers who have been killed, injured, or made ill on the job, and it reinforces our shared commitment to safer, healthier workplaces. Workplace safety in BC. Workplace injuries and fatalities continue to affect families and communities across BC. In 2024, 146 workers died due to work-related incidents or occupational disease, 78 deaths from occupational disease, 38 deaths from traumatic workplace injuries, 30 deaths from work-related motor vehicle accidents. In the first quarter of 2025, multiple fatalities were already reported, highlighting the workplace safety remains urgent. Young workers remain particularly vulnerable. Nearly 7,000 young workers are injured annually, with hundreds seriously hurt and dozens losing their lives over recent years. On the Sunshine Coast, injuries occur across all sectors: construction, forestry, service industries, healthcare, and transportation. While the absolute numbers are smaller locally, the impact is deeply felt within our local community. Every lost life or serious injury affects families, schools, workplaces, and friends. In honor of the National Day of Mourning, we respectfully ask that your council issue the proclamation recognizing April 28th as the National Day of Mourning. Observe a moment of silence during your meeting in honor of workers who have died or been injured on the job. Encourage council and staff members to attend one of our local ceremonies in Gibsons on April 28th from 11 to 11:30 at Dougal Park, or here in Sechelt from 11 to 11:30 in Spirit Square. Officers from WorkSafe BC will be present with the latest findings on workplace safety and recent trends. The National Day of Mourning is both a day of remembrance and a call to action to prevent workplace injuries, support affected families, and promote safety. Thank you for your leadership and support in standing with workers and their families here on the Sunshine Coast. I now ask for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deacon. I'm proud to present the proclamation on behalf of the mayor. And moving on to the next delegation, we have a delegation from the Coast Co-op. Aaron Walker, I believe we have him online, and Johan Stroman, very close. I wonder if you'd like to say a few words about the request. Thank you.
Thank you for having the Coast Guard Co-op present this afternoon. My name is Johan Stroman. I'm one of the current board members and a co-founder of the co-op back in 2013. And I'll turn it over to Aaron Walker.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on the board as well with Johan as the treasurer and current chair of the board. Do we dive right into the presentation? Okay, so thank you. Good afternoon. We're asking Council today to enable reduced parking ratios for developments that finance on-site car share vehicles. We'll cover who we are, how car sharing benefits the community, and why this is a smart policy move for the District of Sechelt. Coast Car Co-op is a registered community service cooperative founded 13 years ago, as Johan had mentioned. We operate 10 vehicles, which are mostly hybrids, plus trucks and a 7-seater van. These are bookable by the hour or up to 3 days through a simple app, or even longer if you contact us directly. Vehicles are purposely placed near transit nodes, and members can also access over 1,000 vehicles across Metro Vancouver, Victoria, Nanaimo, and Kelowna.
We are locally owned, community-based, and view ourselves as part of the integrated transportation network. So you'll see car sharing as the green field there in the diagram that fits in between all the others. So it gives the members the benefit of vehicle access without the cost of ownership. Research shows that car share members bike 10% more, walk 25% more, and use transit from 30 to 50% more through their membership as car share members. The shorter trips naturally shift towards walking, cycling, and transit for car share members. Next slide. So a little bit of history. We launched in 2014 with 2 vehicles and 42 drivers. And we were the driving force behind BC's reciprocal roaming agreement. So this allows members to use any co-op vehicles province-wide, which currently numbers over 1,000. Next slide. So a focus of our ask today is the parking problem, and this is true in municipalities across North America and in the world. Mandatory parking minimums force developers to build expensive infrastructure that sits empty and consumes valuable land. In 2020, the town of Gibsons amended their zoning bylaw to allow reduced parking ratios, where developers finance on-site car share vehicles now embedded in their OCP. And that was just this spring. Similar bylaws exist across BC and North America and align well with BC housing legislation supporting more affordable development. Next slide.
So the 3-way win. Developers finance on 1 to 2 vehicles and save on reduced parking minimums. Residents get convenient, affordable vehicle access on site, reducing the need to own 1 or 2 cars per unit built. And municipalities cut emissions, advance mode shift goals, and get more use from existing active transportation infrastructure. Next slide, please. Our second ask is please update the Transportation Master Plan to include car sharing as a formal traffic demand management tool. Already adopted in multiple BC municipalities. Next slide, please. Shared mobility provisions in zoning and parking policy directly extend the TMP's reach, support parking supply management, and demonstrably reduce car ownership across a broad range of users. So that would be seniors, singles, families, and local businesses. Next slide.
So the numbers tell the story. research shows that one shared vehicle replaces between 9 and 13 privately owned cars. Next slide. And our own growth tells the same story, from 42 members at the outset to over 400 drivers currently, including local businesses, one of which is Skakel, which is a 5-fold increase in fleet size. So we are now at a fleet size of 10. And we currently have 50 members in Sechelt, which is more than double in the last 3 years. But of course, at this point, we regularly only have one vehicle on site in the mall very near to here. In fact, just about 50 feet that direction. Vehicles in Sechelt would serve new high-rise developments well as senior housing and expanding neighborhoods particularly well. Next slide. Thank you. We're also proud to be supported since inception by 2 local co-ops, Sunshine Coast Credit Union and Cooperators. Next slide.
So weekly servicing, annual tune-ups, and a 60% hybrid fleet. Our goal is also to add in plug-in hybrid electric and fully electric vehicles, specifically at new building complexes. Next slide, please. For developers, the parking ratio reduction is a net savings. The co-op handles all operating insurance and fleet management once vehicles are placed. Next slide, please. So this is a hypothetical example of a 2-vehicle placement. It eliminated the need for 14 stalls underground at around $45,000 each in construction costs. So it's a substantial capital savings. It costs then about a third of that to place 2 EVs with infrastructure and unassisted capital for membership shares. Next slide. For residents, car sharing members spend between $5,000 and $2,000 annually versus between 2 and 6 times that for vehicle ownership. So it's quite meaningful savings for seniors on a fixed income or households needing only occasional access to specialized vehicles like trucks or vans. Membership also unlocks greater car share across the whole of the province. Next slide, please. So if council direct staff today, Town of Gibsons has ready-made bylaw language available. Gibsons and the Affordable Housing Society are in fact about to announce 2 vehicles launching at a new development very shortly. Next slide. The District of Sechelt would be joining a growing trend with CMHC funding support, alignment with Bill 47's parking minimum reforms, and potential TransLink partnership opportunities. Next slide, please.
So we'll just finish here, Aaron and myself, by asking council to direct staff to draft a zoning bylaw amendment and add car sharing as a traffic demand management tool. There's no need for a final decision today, but the templates are nearby. The precedent has been set regionally, and the move advances your already adopted transportation master plan while reducing costs for developers and residents alike. Thank you. Last slide.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker and Mr. Strom, for the overview. Some really interesting information there, Council, and Councillor Inkster.
Yeah. Thanks, Yoann, you and I have talked a number of times at community events on this subject of, and one of the reasons why I push transit is to get people out of their vehicles. And because our roads are so small and our ferries are so full. The question I have though is the Shaw Road facility, which you mentioned, I'm not sure if there's any other examples in Gibsons that you could reference, because some of the other apartments that are down there were near downtown and there's other parking demands. So what I would ask in the Shaw Road facility, I think is it a regular facility or aging facility for people aging? I'm just not clear.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Inkster. I think, and Aaron, feel free to wade in here as well. My understanding is it's an affordable housing facility that is open to applicants. I think the Affordable Housing Society regulates, and they have some criteria for income in order for you to qualify.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Just.
I can also reference there's about 4 other developers that we are currently working through terms and conditions with in Gibsons area.
Yeah, thanks. Just be good to see more close to downtown examples. One of our challenges in Sechelt is parking. right? So we have an apartment building with less parking and people will not necessarily have less cars. They'll just park somewhere else, which takes up our commercial spaces. So that's what I'm concerned about in terms of the give and take. Do you have any thoughts about that or?
Again, Councillor Inkster, it's a good question. I think what has worked very well, and I should say too, we work closely with Moto, the car share that really we kind of call it the mothership of car sharing. They've been running since the mid 1990s. They too started with 2 vehicles and a handful of people, and they are now over 1,000 vehicles in multiple communities. They have provided us with some support materials, and the essence is really making sure that residents, before they even move in, are made fully aware that this is an opportunity. And we had a lot to share today, so it's a little unfair to expect that you absorbed all of it. But I know Aaron, in his notes, there was information related to that part of what developers are funding are not just the vehicles themselves, but actually attracting the residents who are moving in to make that behavior change, to say, you know what, honey, we spend $6,000 on this vehicle and capital loss, insurance, maintenance, fuel, and we really only drive it once or twice a week. Why don't we, now that we're moving into this apartment building and Sechelt has put this bylaw in, here we have an opportunity to just use one of these 2 vehicles, and we don't book it that often. So I know the next question that we get a lot is, well, how often are they booked? And the short answer is, as someone who helped start it 13 years ago, I can usually book the car that I want if I'm looking at it a few days in advance. So if I know I have a dentist appointment, if I know I have a meeting, if I know I need that vehicle to take green waste, or I've got in-laws, heaven forbid, who are coming and we need to drive all of them in the 7-passenger van, then the best thing to do is to book it as soon as I know I need it at that time. But often, even on the same day, I can book a car. So it's access is the biggest concern people have. And once you've booked a vehicle with the online app, all the other members are blocked from accessing the vehicle at that time. So you've just made a personal booking for that vehicle. You didn't have to talk to anyone. It's simply available, whether you want it for half an hour, 45 minutes, or the whole afternoon.
Thanks, Chair. That's not the second one was, I think you just took license there to speak about another plus to the program. I was more concerned about habit changes that you're referencing. So, because that's what we need to do if I like these programs that have less vehicles in our downtown core. I would prefer that people walk more, because then they don't drive by our commercial businesses. They accidentally fall into a store and buy something, right? So I like these programs. I'm very supportive. How do we get behavior to need less vehicles? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. I guess one thing I will say is I've always been very, I own a vehicle. You know, my family has 2 vehicles. We're 16-year-old who's learning to drive. We're adding a 3rd vehicle because we live outside of the downtown. We're not on a bus route. There's a lot of things that just sort of work against us. But last summer, I actually joined Moto because of the difficulty getting across on the ferry with a vehicle. And what I've found since then was, just for a few bucks a month, I've found it absolutely invaluable. I'm here in Victoria for a couple of conferences this week, and there's a car share just around the corner from me, less than a block and a half away, if there's somewhere I need to go. And because of that, I don't have to take a vehicle across on the ferries. I don't have to pay for parking. I don't have to hope that it doesn't get broken into. I don't have any of those concerns. And I think as we encourage more people to use e-bikes or walk or transit, I think this is, for a lot of people, it's still a new concept for the Sunshine Coast. But it's certainly, it's one of those things that if you've got it, you will 100% use it, because it's just so convenient. If we lived downtown, my family would probably only have 1 vehicle, knowing that we had access to this sort of thing. So extremely supportive. A question, I don't know whether the Coast Car Co-op folks can answer it, or whether it'd be for staff. But what sort of a parking reduction has the town of Gibson's implemented as part of this? And is this something that our staff are already considering as part of the transportation master plan update that they're working on? Thanks.
Thanks very much for that. I might turn it over then to staff and Director Allen to answer that question.
Sure. Pardon me. Thank you through the chair. I don't have this specific question on the parking variance that Gibson's allows, and perhaps the delegation can answer that part. But I do know that their zoning bylaw kicks in when there's a development of, it's either 50 or 55 units. So it's a fair amount of size of a development. We have offered parking variances for downtown developments throughout the years just simply due to proximity, but this would be an additional incentive on that as well, adding security. We note the need for bicycle parking. We note the need for electric vehicle charge and plugins as well. And these are things we do talk to developers and applicants about, you know, and modernizing the approach to parking. Something we would like to do is revisit the entire parking section of our zoning bylaw. There were some constraints when we developed bylaw 580, and we recognize that our downtown parking numbers are dated and arguably more suburban than urban, but also under the assumption that people want to park exactly where they are going. So and as the delegation described it, it's a shift and a modernization of how we consider transportation options. So there are some potential opportunities. And I'll pass over to Director Lee to speak to the transportation plan.
Great, thank you,
Yeah.
Director Lee.
Thank you. And through the chair, the transportation master plan doesn't speak specifically to car share programs, but it does fit within the vision of mode shift and making alternative transportation options available. Where I might see it fitting in is something like a designated downtown parking spot or something like that. That's where it may fit into the infrastructure side of the transportation. But generally speaking, it fits in with the vision, but it isn't called out specifically. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Councillor McLaughlin. Correct.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Yeah, I'm very interested in it. I see a lot of potential for it, but I'm just wondering, we've had a lot of reduction in our requirement, I think, for multifamily units. We've had a lot of pressure to increase density for housing. And I think as a result, we've kind of reduced our parking requirements, which I think somehow makes it less of an incentive to have a bylaw like this, unfortunately. But I still think there's a lot of potential. For instance, I was thinking about Bermuda, where everybody comes on a cruise ship and they come as passengers. They never take a car. So if they want to get around Bermuda, and nobody wants to walk the whole thing or bike it, trust me, I've been there. Now they can hire very small vehicles to, go together and drive around because it's just too much to, A, get cars there, and B, too hard on the roads and the system and the traffic to have everybody have a car there, even if they could rent them. So, I see a vision for car share really, because we are quite far away from the ferry, it looks like we're going to be that way for a long time, to have a car share or car rental share at the ferry so that people can come as passengers with their families and friends and clear up some of that space on the decks for cars, because obviously we don't have enough ferry space for all the cars that people would like to, and it's become kind of a fiasco to try and arrange to get your reservations and everybody getting there early and all that. So I think there's a huge potential for this, and I think that would be a way to build business here for you guys, but also to get more people the convenience without having to take their whole car. And I think that's my vision for the future. Of course, it'd be nice to have them electric, and I think they would be, able to zip up and down where they want to go, because people come here and they want to get around. They want to go to different beaches. They want to go to restaurants. They want to, take their parents, whatever, and have fun. And so I think we're not far enough away from car culture to expect them all to take transit. Although I do take transit, I try and encourage people to do it, but the time it takes is really challenging for us here in Sechelt. So good luck. we could try the bylaw. If it doesn't do anything, well, at least we tried, right? The bylaws, and also build on more of a scheme to actually build more of this car sharing and this kind of sustainability vision that you have. Thank you.
Thanks for that. I'm looking at the rest of council for any comment. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Through the chair, I believe that Director Lee, that you did comment on this in the plan. And you did mention about a designated space? Is that sort of the way this process or the logistics work normally?
Yes, thank you for the question. So it doesn't call out parking spaces specifically, but that's what I see in terms of infrastructure design where it might support car share. So where the master plan is calling out different types of infrastructure, connections and things like that, that's where that's a type of infrastructure change that I might see supporting a car share program. A parking study would be something that would come subsequent to the transportation master plan, so it doesn't get into specific parking design for the downtown or anything like that, but that could be something that comes forward through that parking plan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Oh, sorry, Mayor Henderson.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Just to wrap this up, perhaps, I'd certainly support whether it's within the transportation master plan or an addendum to it, some sort of assessment by planning and engineering perhaps about the proposal that we've just heard from. And I'd go a little bit further to encourage anything that comes back to us to recognize other emerging forms of transportation, be it low-powered vehicles or indeed fully self-driving vehicles in the future. So, you know, I'm not sure that we have the right wording for a resolution today, but I would encourage and support a resolution that directs staff to the extent they feel they need it to embrace what's coming, including car sharing.
Thanks for that. Yes, I'm also very supportive of staff reviewing this as a piece within a review of parking bylaw. So I don't know if staff want a specific recommendation right now other than just a receipt of the delegation. But I will call a vote on the issue in terms of just receiving the information from the delegation. All in favor? Seconded by Mayor and carried unanimously. Did I see it? Yes. So it's been received.
Oh, okay, so seconded by somebody in person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker and Mrs. Strom, for the information. Really interesting.
Thank you.
That's good. Chair then?
One follow-up question.
Yeah, thanks. Not Mr. Stroman, because I'm glad he keeps pushing on this, and we've talked a number of times. Quite a background, like a number of us, in sustainability and environmental issues. Johan does have, but if in fact we've received the report through you, Chair, and staff has heard council's support for this, what is next steps then? Thanks.
I will turn that over to staff. My sense of what's being talked about today is that staff have heard everyone's opinion. They're looking to generally review the municipal bylaw on parking, and that this will be factored into it. Is that an accurate recap? I'll turn that over to staff for answering. Perhaps Director Allen.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think there's a few avenues that could be undertaken here. As Director Lee mentioned, an offshoot of the transportation plan might be a traffic parking study. That is something we have wanted to do for a number of years. We did apply for some grant funding for that and did not receive it. So where does that funding come from? Is that a additional operating request in the future? Potentially, or different funding opportunities. We have the OCP under development. There could be policy relating to this, or there could be a more shorter term amendment to the zoning bylaw building off of what Gibson's has done. So there are different avenues, and perhaps staff can take that away and discuss it, and we are happy to support council. Thank you.
Councillor Inkster, do you want to make any a separate motion or?
Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure. What I could do is maybe look at when the minutes come forward from this meeting. Thanks for asking staff that question, because one of my challenges is without recommendations from council, staff doesn't necessarily know that that's the clear direction the organization should be going in. It's all about time management, right? So I'm hearing that they hear us and that they will be moving in that direction. I know that as long as I'm on council, I'll keep trying to push for less vehicles on our roads because for many different reasons. So maybe this is part of that puzzle. Thanks.
Thanks. I will take a stab then at an additional motion that we direct staff to review the report and, as Director Allen mentioned, come back with a recommendation on a specific bylaw on shared parking. Oh, sorry, Councillor Toth. Oh, is that a seconder? Seconded by Mayor Henderson. Do you have any comment on this new motion?
Thank you, Chair. My suggestion, which I was going to make if you'd come to me, but you beat me to the punch, so it's okay, was to actually refer this particular presentation to our APC to get feedback from them. Just because they are, community members. We rely on them a lot for, zoning and OCP and development permits and things like that. I thought it'd be a good way to sort of keep it in our minds. I'm not sure that I need a report from staff about what zoning amendments to make just yet. We don't typically, make motions to delegations on the fly. But I was interested in referring it to our APC for information. Thanks.
All right, thanks for that. Why don't I take a stab at amending my motion with the comments from Councillor Toth that it first go to the APC for review. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. I don't think there's any harm in having our staff review the Gibson's bylaw. It doesn't, I think continuity in terms of sustainability actions and policies you can't really go wrong. So I would like to have staff come back with comments as to what is appropriate and what might be problematic here for whatever reasons, because I think we need to push ourselves to go in that direction. And if we just leave it on a list, we sometimes forget. So if we could just direct it to staff and have that report back in maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, I think that it doesn't have to be extensive. But I think there's more things we can do. Gibson's is a real leader in sustainability. And I'm even tempted to bring forward a cat bylaw, even though I love cats. So, they have a new cat bylaw. So and again, that sustainability, it's about the birds, it's about, some of the issues we have with our past habits and loves. So I think that would be something you might want to include in your amendment. I don't think it'd be a harm. Yep.
Okay, I've got that, and now I'm so deep into what motions are on the floor that I will turn to our corporate officer to help me out.
Mr. Chair, I didn't note a seconder for your amendment. So if there is a seconder for the amendment to refer the proposal to the APC prior to requesting the staff report, then we can proceed with voting on the amendment and then voting on the motion as a whole.
All right, I'll ask for a seconder to my amendment.
Yeah, just to chair, just a quick, I'll support it because it's codified now. It's going to go to, my preference, I was surprised at the APC proposal. I would prefer, and this is up to the introducer, that it goes to staff as well as the APC.
Yeah.
I don't, and so after I'm done, if you come back and want to add that, I will second that again, because I think staff and the APC should be working at the same time. If this is a good idea, I would prefer that we do it within a couple of months rather than longer than that. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, there's no time frame yet. So I will go back to the corporate officer and just see where we are in the process here of the The amendment, we now need a vote on.
It appears there's one more comment potentially prior to the vote on the amendment, and
Okay.
then a vote on the amendment, and then a vote on the motion as a whole.
Thanks. Mayor Henderson.
Okay, thank you. No, I didn't see if we had a seconder. So given we have a second, we can, as far as I'm concerned, we can vote on this. But well, perhaps I think we're going too much in the weeds. I'd be happy with the first motion. I'll support the second motion. But bottom line, let's get some more information. And certainly if staff want to pass it to suggest we pass it to the APC, or indeed if we say go to the APC, either way, let's move on. This is
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote on the amendment. Is everyone clear what the amended, everyone is?
Just the APC.
No, I think there's general agreement that it will go to the APC and be reviewed by staff. So all in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Again, go back to our corporate officer. So we're clear then what's being approved.
Yes, my understanding is that the amendment was approved, and now council will vote on the motion as a whole, which will be that the proposal be referred to the APC and that staff review the proposal and the comments from the APC and bring a report back to council with recommendations on next steps.
Great, thanks. Is that clear to everyone? Anyone have any questions on that? I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Mayor Henderson.
I was voting.
Okay, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for the delegation.
Thank you.
again, for waiting through. Now we'll move on to business items. 5.1, Sechelt Downtown Business Association update to council. Canada Day and business improvement area changes. I believe Tressa Logan's here and can speak to it. Okay. So I think I'll then turn it over to the corporate officer to sort of run through it. Thank you.
Certainly. So turn my volume up a little bit. So the District of Sechelt has typically had business improvement area over the years going back to the 1990s or even further potentially, as far as my research has shown. As far as enacting a BIA bylaw, there are two possible approaches outlined in the community charter. So typically, the District of Sechelt has proceeded with their BIA through the council initiative process. And that means, as we have received this year, a request from the Downtown Business Association to have council proceed with a bylaw. And then that triggers a petition against process, essentially an alternate approval. So that is a communication is sent out to all the property owners in the proposed area. And if we don't hear back from 50% of them representing 50% of the assessed value, the bylaw may be adopted by council. The other approach is for the property owners to do their own petition. And then that's the reverse. They would have to demonstrate 50% are in favor in order for council to be allowed to consider adoption of the bylaw. So those are the two processes that are outlined in the report. The report also includes a summary of the proposed changes for the BIA bylaw and the business promotion scheme, which I would defer to Ms. Logan to provide any details on the proposal from the SDBA.
Great, thank you for that. I will look to council for comments. Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. As a disclosure, I was on the executive of the SDBA when the current scheme was first brought into play. It had been just a flat $525 parcel tax before that, and we updated the scheme to the fee being based on the number of business licenses on a property to ensure a little more equity, because you might have one house on Cowrie Street or on Mermaid Street that was paying $125 with one, computer business in it. And then you'd have Trail Bay Center paying $525 for the complex. And so that was sort of why we made the change, was to ensure that, the bigger properties were contributing more with a discount, recognizing that a lot of these bigger properties also have their own marketing budgets, their own marketing programs. Some of our complexes downtown have multiple floors, upper floors are office space, things like that, things that don't really benefit from the work of a BIA. And so back in 2017, when we made that change, it was a significant undertaking for community support, like for support from the property owners. And I'm just looking for a little bit of clarity. I'm really glad that Tressa is there today. I'm just looking for some clarity on what engagement has been done with property owners or business owners so far in the process. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I'll turn that over to Teresa to answer.
Thank you, Councillor Toth. So with my businesses, we put out a memo to businesses letting them know what we're doing. So there are some changes. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read the report. As Alton mentioned, it was a different kind of scheme to collect the levy. What I'm trying to do is just simplify what's going on so that businesses are still being benefited, but property owners, it's kind of creating more of an even playing field. So it's what BIA-BC does. It's basically a tax levy based on the BC assessment. So that's going to be put forward as a just what we feel that makes sense because it's the norm throughout BC instead of the tiered approach currently. I haven't gone to the property owners yet because I'm waiting to see if council will put the motion forward, and then I will start my work by speaking with them individually. There's a few property owners that are they don't live here, they don't live on the coast, they're very hard to reach. I don't have access to a lot of them. I do often reach out and I do not get a response. So with those property owners, what I'm doing is I'm depending on the businesses to be the advocate because it's a strange bylaw because we're asking property owners, most of them who aren't involved, to make the decision based on who their tenant is. And so what I've been doing is I'm talking to the tenant, the business owner, to get them to say, this is why I want the SDBA to stay. Some may want it to stay, some may not. We both know that it's very hard to please everybody. It's also services like massage, dental, pharmacy. They don't really need my support. If anything, they're like, Teresa, we're too busy. So it's one of those things where the people that really need it want it, and the people that don't really need it are like, it's great because it still brings people to the downtown. So that's how I'm working at Alton, is I'm going through the businesses to advocate to the property owners because they're the ones with the relationship. And some that I do have a relationship with, I will continuously talk with. But as you can see with the new BIA boundary, we've removed some businesses that are far down Wharf because I just can't service them. So in my thought, I can't help them. I can't have events down in the industrial part of town. I mean, they can opt in as an associate member, so they don't have to be no longer a part of the BIA. They can opt in as an associate member. So they might decide, well, I'm not in the boundary, but I want a part of it, like the Lighthouse Pub is, Harbor Air, Sunshine Coast Air. There's a couple of spas down the road that aren't within the boundary, but are associate members because they want to take part. So we're not limiting people. We still want them to come in, but I'm limited in terms of what I can provide. So I've kind of condensed so I can be better at providing a service to those who I can actually service. Does that make sense? So that's how I'm going about it.
Councillor Toth, does that answer your question?
Yeah, mostly. Like I said, the engagement in 2017 was fairly heavy because of the change from the parcel tax to the rate based on the number of business licenses. I know that at the time we did something truly unique. It was the only one in BC that had moved to a business license based levy. By far, assessment based is the more popular scheme. At the time, we felt that assessment based was sort of punishing property owners that are undertaking improvements that make their property more valuable. Now they've got to pay more to the BIA for services. So this will all come out in the community engagement with the property owners. I am supportive of engaging with the property owners early and often. I do have a couple more questions, but I'll wait. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Councillor Bell.
Yes, through the chair, I don't want to move off this particular business item, but we've got three options, as I understand it, that are listed here. And my question is just around the coordination of the parade. Is that's a separate business item at this point, or how does that move into all of this? I don't see that connection. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah, it's a good
understand.
point. I guess I'll turn it over to the corporate officer. It's not part of the recommendation that on page 7.
The SDBA has also expressed concerns with running the parade for this year. So there was a request for the District of Sechelt to take over the coordination of that. Again, Teresa may have more information, or I can defer to Director Roberts for operational responses on our side as well about the parade.
Director Roberts.
Thank you for the question. I'm wondering, Teresa, if you just want to speak about the constraints,
Sure.
and then I can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I think.
Sure.
Yep. Thanks.
So with this promotional scheme, so the Schedule B, there's things that were in it that we would be responsible for. And in it, many years ago, before my time, the parades were mandatory within the promotional scheme for the SDBA. Throughout the years, with my board, we've had these discussions many times. We tried to change it 5 years ago and things kind of fell through the cracks, and that's fine. We've managed to do what we're doing. But the cost for parades keeps going up because of the insurance. Getting volunteers is nearly impossible, so I have to pay them now. And the challenge is it's not really benefiting my businesses because the majority of them close. Because they're like, well, it's my day off. So I have all my shops going, well, why are we paying? Because ultimately, even though the property owners are paying it, it's in their triple net. The business owners ultimately paying for the BIA levy, but they're like, but we're not open. Restaurants do benefit because people are in the downtown, but my shops always say that people just want to come and use the bathroom. So we're saying, it's not benefiting, it's not a true benefit to our members. So I don't think we should be carrying the cost of a public event that's for the public. Does that make sense? And the cost is just getting higher and higher each year.
Yeah, I think I understand the logic of it, but Councillor Inkster, you were the next in line.
Yeah, thanks. I guess the parade becomes a victim of its own success, right? It just becomes harder and harder to manage the costs associated with it. We've seen a number of other festivals in other towns, like Blackberry Festival, which is huge in Paul River, is run by volunteers, but not necessarily the Business Improvement District, but an individual step forward with that idea. That may have to happen in Sechelt, or we do it until we find those people, but then they get tired. I've seen the Downtown Association in reference to the BIA discussion and the work that I saw a number of years ago actually fail. Because the SDBA thought that they had their support. I'm not sure if you were living here then, but it failed, and we had to go back to them and encourage them to step forward again and promote it better. And the coordinator actually lost their job because of it. It was a really bad scene, but it was a situation where there wasn't enough promotion, and that was under the old scheme of per property owners. A smaller amount per property owner, not necessarily the assessment piece, which will be interesting how you market it, because a lot of the property owners have the businesses in their buildings, but they don't necessarily. Although if the businesses succeed, they'll continue to pay rents that may be increasing to the property owners in the commercial areas, and it makes sense to retain those businesses. So it makes sense to them, but it's just, I've been here chair since the downtown was more of a village, and it was a local improvement district. And I think in this room, I think that one of our citizens back here remembers that, and I think Mr. Allen remembers that in this room of when it was a local improvement area, and it was actually money was poured into the downtown to do the sidewalks. A lot of people don't realize how much the downtown has evolved The Mexican-looking building used to be a car dealership. So what's changed is that we went from improvement districts to promotion, and now we're trying to look at more money from that. So just versus the change in how nice our downtown looks and how many great stores are there, I think there's a lot of work that's going to have to go in by the SDBA. In a sense, sadly, it's a lot of work to promote the idea to continue with the great business organization they are. It's just, I support this to go back to the original premise, Chair, but I think it will have to take us supporting it, knowing that it's good for business, and supporting the SDBA as they go out to the property owners. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Sorry, before I go to Councillor McLaughlin, I just, it's my fault. I just want to make sure, Councillor Bell, did Ms. Logan's answer, because that's a really good question. It's almost as if that should be a separate recommendation that those events be taken out of their mandate.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of where I'm coming from with this. I don't want to see this get lost. I think that this event is extremely important to Sechelt. And I mean, every year it continues to be, you know, it's an event that, you know, brings a lot of people to the downtown core and all ages. So I really don't want us to lose sight of this. So maybe it needs to stand alone at this point. I'm not sure. But I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost in this discussion.
All right, I agree with that. So let me just let's keep that in mind as we go along. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes. Thank you, the Chair. Yeah, I was just reading an email sent to us with the Catherine, what was her last name? Truman, who used to, you know, be quite a character around here, organizing all kinds of things. And I was here during those days, and I felt that a lot of family, community things were held. And I think over the years, it's become more focused on business and tourism rather than family. And I think some of these parades, yes, they get to family rather than say, oh, are the businesses making money? It's like, you know, Canada Day, Christmas, those are huge family events. And so when are we going to care? Really, it services the community primarily, I think, and of residents especially. Those are residents that show up to do all that. The residents are the ones that come all year round and spend money in the village, at restaurants, et cetera. If we didn't have our residents, everything would be closed except in the summer. So Oktoberfest, like I remember that was a lot of fun. So a lot more ideas to get locals out, have others maybe advertise to have people come here that knowing we have these events, and let's build on that. But I don't see us going that way. This proposal doesn't seem to support that at all. And so if we're taking it on ourselves, it seems things have switched where we're doing the work that we assigned first to the business improvement area. And so that's something that really concerns me. Another thing concerns me is I think the report was kind of incomplete because I didn't have an idea of who pays and who's being consulted in this. And if it's just property owners, I could tell you a lot of the business owners I talk to, they don't know anything about this levy or who pays or what it's about. I talk to people in the mall who are in the mall, like my hairdresser. She had no idea. She's been a hairdresser here for like 25 years, like doesn't know anything about it. So I think we need to, take a step back and look at, you know, how can this type of organization service the community first and foremost. And because we don't need to build too much more in the summer. We've already heard from Sunshine Coast Tourism and et cetera that, you know, the summertime we're already over capacity. So I'm just concerned that if it's about business and first and community, whenever, second or third or whatever, that doesn't sit right with me. Also, the boundaries that are proposed, the report says the boundaries, it'll be less, it'll be smaller in size for financial reasons, which I'm not sure how that would really work out, but that the owners would be consulted, but not the retailers. So I don't think that's really that helpful. And they would have to say they know about it and they are against it and write in a formal letter to take that vote. So I just don't think we're going to get an outcome that really is going to serve the community very well. Also, the boundary also includes a block along the Oceanfront Esplanade, and it's the same block, the boulevard between Trail and Ocean, that has been proposed over and over by the business improvement area to do something. Now, they want it in their boundary, which I pointed out before, it wasn't in their boundary, so it's not really their jurisdiction. But I think to put single-family homes as part of, along that entire street, as part of the BIA is just inappropriate. And I think we got an email from a resident along there saying it's just not, it's not acceptable, and they're going to protest against it. And also, from what I see here, they would not even be consulted along the way. There's no intention to consult them in what is planned in this boundary. So I think that block should be excluded for sure. But what I would like to see actually is a plan for the downtown come forward with some future ideas and better use of land use and some interesting policy we could do to try and create more opportunity where we want it. For instance, rather than develop on that waterfront, which is like a capital asset, you know, you're not going to be able to buy an asset that has long-standing oceanfront, beachfront views for anybody to enjoy at any time. And if you start developing that with the types of things that have been proposed, that is taken away from local residents and people who live in the area that are. So these are the issues I have with it. I think the best thing to support is that fine recommendation 1, where the business improvement area does not take on the parades, et cetera. They don't want to do that anymore. I think that's a no-brainer. Whether we even need a recommendation, that's just a fact, right? And also, I think we should just, at this point, refuse, take option 4 and refuse any kind of work on this anymore until we have a full-fledged, and let it fall, let it fail. And then if they want to come forward with a plan that has details and things we can all understand the costs and the benefits, and that is more, takes into account the consultation of the community and builds on a shoulder season rather than the summertime, selling food to people that might be wandering, you know, along the waterfront. I just don't think that's a realistic plan or a good enough by any means. So I think, you know, I think it behooves us to take the time to step back from this organization and have a breather and see what comes from our OCP, see what ideas we can generate as a community, how to make things better, because it's been a rough 3 years and I haven't seen a lot of successful results. And I think we do need a serious look at our downtown and how to make it better comprehensively and find a place where we can put the farmer's market, you know, find some of these properties we have that are just basically derelict, and how can we utilize them so that they are not just, you know, missing teeth in our smile saying, here, come to Sechelt. No, Sechelt deserves to have, you know, some attention in terms of design that way. And I think it wouldn't cost much to do design, and we should focus our funds there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Before I go to anyone, I see Councillor Toth. I just wonder, Ms. Logan, if you want, do you want to comment on any of that, or?
I don't even know where to start. I'm sorry. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what we're asking. I'm not sure what the waterfront conversation is about, but we just want it rezoned so there's tourism opportunities there to grow. So that's why we want to put it in the boundary, because if in 5 years the boundary or those zoning changes, then we would be able to help and support that area. So I'm a bit lost, Diane, sorry, on what that conversation was, but I just know that we are here to support business. It's a business improvement association. I understand the importance of community, but our businesses pay the majority of the taxes to support the community. So my job is to support the business. So that's what I do. I think the public realm and the community is what the district does, and the OCP is something that you would be working on towards what you would like to see for the waterfront in the downtown, but that's a different conversation.
All right, thanks very much. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'll move on to Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. There's a lot to unpack in Councillor McLaughlin's comments, some of which I agree with, some of which I disagree with, some of which are well outside the bounds of everything to do with a BIA. One thing I do want to point out, business improvement areas are actually legislated as part of the community charter. And you go to BIA BC's website, they do have a lot of information there about what they are, what they do, and what they're not. And one thing that it does say is that BIAs are mandated to promote and improve commercial areas for the benefit of their business and property owner members. But in the process, BIAs provide significant benefits to the greater community policing centers, neighborhood homes, community centers, municipalities, local police departments, and other area services. So BIAs are not a planning agency. They're not there's a lot of comparisons that often get made to BIAs and chambers of commerce. They're not at all the same thing. BIAs are fundamentally at their core intended to improve their geographical boundary, and in doing so, sort of everybody prospers. Our street trees and our benches and planters and painted crosswalks are all things that BIAs have fought for in the name of sort of improving street beauty. There are BIAs in BC that are responsible for everything from hanging baskets to pothole repair within their jurisdictions. The North Road BIA is responsible for North Road in Burnaby. So they run the whole gamut of things that they can do and things that they don't do. One thing I did want to ask, though, and I think this is going to be for Director Douglas, a number of years ago, we actually, I believe, we started budgeting $10,000 for the parade specifically in order to take it off of the SDBA's plate. So I'm just looking for confirmation that that is something that we did do, and are we still budgeting that $10,000 for parade? Councillor Inkster, to put you on the spot, I would love your assistance in organizing the parade. It's something I've done for 10 or 11 years now before I was elected, and I would love some volunteer assistance with organizing the parade. But anyways, that question for Director Douglas. Thank you.
Director Douglas.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure I'm going to have an answer for you right now. I know that as part of Canada Day, we do participate in the parade. So as a line item, I don't think we have that in our budget for $10,000, but let me look and get back to you on that for. Oh yeah, we budget for the traffic control portion of it, not for, and then just as part of Canada Day.
All right, just if I could ask for a clarification of that. So if council were to agree to this amendment where the two parades are moved out of the Downtown Business Association budget, there would be a financial result, or more, the district would be paying more for those items. Is that correct?
There would be going forward, but once again, it's kind of built into that day's celebration overall. So we have a budget for that. And we've been slowly doing more over time. So this change wouldn't create a huge problem because it's slowly been migrating over the last 3 years. So, yes, we would clean it up for next year for sure, but we would be fine in the meantime.
Okay, then I'll just echo Councillor Toth's point, just to get perhaps an email, some specifics on finances with respect to those two items. Sorry, Councillor Rowe. I thought.
I'll make something up on the fly. So just to be clear, we have a current agreement that goes until the end of July, correct? So I'm not sure that I'm willing to
ask staff to take on this year's parade. I'd be willing to look at it in the future. And I think there's two, I'm generally in support of the options that are laid out in the report. But I do see the parade as sort of not necessarily included in that option. So through you to staff, are we looking for a separate resolution about the parade?
Can I interject just to clarify something? So
Sure.
we are taking, I'm still managing the parade this year. And I'm working with Maria and she's agreed to help. And Lindsay, we've talked about getting more things covered, which is really helpful. And they have been helpful every year. It's the Festival of Lights parade that is still a minor cost, which we're still willing to host. We just need this financial support, which is $5,000 at most for both events. It's not a lot of money. It's just, I would rather see that money go to a micro grant to my business so they can improve their storefront. That's kind of where that money is going to be allocated.
So just to
That
be
help?
clear, because we're
Yeah.
8 weeks out.
Yeah.
Canada Day.
It's still happening. I'm
Still
doing
happening.
it. It's sorted.
The Festival of Light happens after
Yes.
the end of this agreement. And
We've got a grant for the Festival of Lights because I applied just in case, and we got more money. So it's already, we're in a good place right now for us to continue to do both this year. It's fine. Yeah.
thanks for that.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. The Councillor Inkster.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that I'm glad that it's continuing. And I think that the district probably, obviously we've done more and more, so maybe we probably could have made it happen because it's really important to the community. That's what we're here for, business and community. I didn't know that Councillor Toth needed help. He was so good at it, but we'll have to talk tomorrow as to what you need. I also I have to just let council know that I'm not in favor of letting volunteer organizations with a board of directors and a history and a track record die. There's a number of festivals throughout BC, and if we sit down and name them, that people have let die and they miss them right away. So I am not in favor of letting an organization and hoping that a group of people come together over the next number of years to reform the organization. So I'm not.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So I'm not in support of us moving in that direction if in fact that's being proposed. Thanks.
Okay, I'm just going to ask that if council could just focus on the first recommendation for final comments. Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. No, I took my hand down. I was going to perhaps just to focus this, I think we're talking about a budget for the BIA financially. We're talking in less than $100,000. So not to make light of that size, but it is not the biggest financial issue we're dealing with. I think we've got that, which is, do we go out and get support from the business owners? And I've got some questions of how do we do that, given Teresa Logan has advised she has trouble reaching some of them. So I suppose I will speak now that I have. Bottom line, I think we should be supporting the continuation of the BIA, given it's a new agreement or we need to renew the agreement. I would certainly support the recommendation on page 7. And I'm just not sure how that ties into the change in, or the proposed change in the BIA jurisdiction, the map, if you will. That introduces two different things, one being taking Cowrie out of it, Cowrie north of Dolphin, I think, or near Dolphin, and adding in the waterfront on the south side. So I'm a little bit procedurally, I'm not sure how we proceed. So I guess I'd turn it back to you, Chair.
So
Lucky you.
So you don't have a specific question about the boundary of Miss Logan?
Well, not of Miss Logan, it's more procedurally for us. The recommendation on page 7 talks about petitioning the property owners. But I guess it's implicit in that what's drafted, that it's as presented in the staff report. And I'm not sure how we deal with that at this late date, given there's two very different components to it. I do know that most of the owners north of Dolphin, if you will, are probably somewhat ambivalent. And I agree with Ms. Logan that those who are interested can become associate members. But I also echo Councillor McLaughlin's comment. We did receive a note from one resident, but still it's on what we do along the waterfront and the south side. So I'm struggling procedurally is my point. I don't quite know how we can proceed based on the staff report recommendation that we have in front of us.
Okay, I will move on then to Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I guess I would like Alton in particular, Councillor Toth, to step back and think about what a commercial area is. I think the problem with our day and age is we go on the internet, we read policy, and we take it as verbatim. And we believe that in ways that we really shouldn't, because the truth is any commercial area, and the reason why these programs were developed was especially for small towns who were suffering from malls being built, of getting emptied out and needed some help to generate and maintain business and to update their buildings. Some of them had historic frontages, and it really did help keep the heart of communities alive. And for us in the village, I have a plan of the village before it became the district. It is the heart of this community. And it is the heart of even the sub-region. So it is not just a place for business owners to buy buildings and take votes. It is so much more than that. And it seems like it's just being boiled down to that. And it really needs to, if you want to develop community, you have to support these, but you also have to have concerns about what these areas mean to people's lives, to their belief in this community, this neighborhood, this place, and the balance that's required. It's about balance. And I don't really see that BIAs are there to rezone properties outside their boundary and saying, oh, I want to come and put it in my boundary so I can rezone it. Are the residents there going to be consulted? Doesn't look like it. They're not even part of the area now. They're never going to have a vote on any organization there. So I think it's really anti-community to take that approach. Now, some people have a vision that this should be like Whistler or something like that, but I think there's something about placemaking and the beauty of the place, the zeitgeist of the place, and we all know this place is very special in terms of nature and the people here and the services we get here. It's a delicate balance all year round. In the summer, it gets a bit wonky, but it's really important to have a holistic view of what a downtown commercial area is and what it means to the community. And the businesses, if they support community, they will do better. And if you want volunteers, be nice to the community here, be nice to the residents, because, you know, they care about this place and they will volunteer. But if you just exclude them and treat them as some kind of thing.
Point of order, I've got to ask that we narrow this down to the.
There is no time frame on what I can speak, and you're not
Yeah,
really.
there actually is.
not
We
supposed to
need
cut
to
me off.
have you focus on the point because we have many other opinions to come.
Well, I want to make this opinion strong because, of course, nobody shares my opinion and they don't have any background in planning. And for all the years of being on council, et cetera, they don't seem to have developed this knowledge. So I think it's important that I say it because there's a lot at stake here. And I've really been watching how things are being done in the last 4 years. And I think that we can do a lot better if we just take a more community-minded approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster. Councillor Talk, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Councillor McLaughlin was trying to accuse me of there, but I have been a downtown business owner. I have been involved in the BIA. I have gone to BIA BC conferences. I am very familiar with the renewal processes. And if you do or don't support the renewal process, whatever. It's just making sure that the renewal process is not. We need to make sure that we're following a renewal process that is appropriate. It is a legislated item. This is not something we just willy-nilly invent or, you know, an advisory committee or things like that. I do support moving forward. I do have a couple of questions. I actually agree with Councillor McLaughlin, surprising as it might be. I don't agree with grabbing the waterfront with the idea that maybe we'll rezone it sometime in the future if it's brought within the BIA boundary. That might come as a shock, but I don't agree with that. But fundamentally, we do need to move forward. My question for staff, the map that's on page 10 is one that the District of Sechelt generated for the BIA. The map that's on page 11 looks like a screenshot from Google Maps. So the question that I have is, will we as a district provide a GIS approved map for this process? Because there's a number of properties that have been included within the Google map that I don't think we legislatively can include. And that includes properties like Arrowhead and the post office, and I think even our own municipal park space. BIAs are specifically for Class 5 and Class 6 properties, and those properties are not and can never be Class 5 or Class 6 properties. Thanks.
I'll turn that over to staff. I wonder if
Yes, to provide some clarification on the parameters of the business improvement area that are included in the community charter, it's very specific. It only applies to class 4, 5, and 6 properties. So that's not residential, that's commercial, I believe light industrial areas. So the diagram that would be attached to a BIA bylaw would outline a geographic area, but the taxation only applies to those specific property classes. So any residential properties in there would not be affected by the tax, nor can the BIA affect zoning or land use at all. Just because an area is included in a BIA doesn't mean that a business is going to pop up where a business hadn't been before. It simply allows the District of Sechelt to apply the tax for the purposes that are outlined in the business promotion scheme in that bylaw.
that's really helpful, because I think that actually answers one of the questions of the resident that emailed in who lives on the ocean front. So that's a good response. I'm going to finish with two questions, or sort of if we could round this up, because we've got to move forward. Councillor Inkster, please be brief if you can.
I'll do my best. I mean, this is a big issue. Canada Day, keep going, because BIA.
It is a big issue, but if you want to make a recommendation that we move it back to staff, then we should do so. But we do have to sort of move forward with it one way or another. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, can we come back to that then? Because I wasn't prepped for you to ask me to do that. But I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Heritage Grant was big years ago. Staff may have been aware of that, and the organizations. That was bigger for Canada Day. That would have helped. Once again, with the continuation of the organization, we just have to remember there's a competition nearby with plenty of parking. So we need to focus on the village uniqueness. And I already said to staff, we should be calling it the Sechelt Village Experience, and to get away from just Sechelt Village. And also just a little caveat to the organization, to Teresa and her organization, is it has been in the past, and it can be risky if you try to bring in properties that may not see the value, because they will work against you in the community. So just a caveat. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. Counselor Bell.
Yeah, I'll finish. To me, what this is, and I could be completely wrong, we've been talking about this in our strategic plan about increasing the vibrancy of the downtown the downtown core. This is to me a much bigger discussion around strategy. What does the downtown core going to be? I mean, that time has not been spent as far as I know. And whatever that takes, I think that's where this needs to go next. Because everyone here is making a good point, really, in terms of the passion they have and what they want to see in this downtown core. But this is not the time to do it because we're getting caught in that discussion. I'm not sure where to take this right now, to be honest, where I don't have whether we, if we, you know, if I say a motion to, you know, for this recommendation, to move this recommendation, I don't know if that's the best motion right now. So I'm kind of lost on what we do with this. I think this is a part of a much bigger discussion. I guess for me, the thing that I heard is that I was looking at option one in terms of just knowing that that's going to go forward this year. I heard the parade is going to go forward this year. So I'm good with that. But the rest of it, I'm just not comfortable in just saying we do this at this point.
Okay, thanks for that. I think I'm hearing that from a number of counselors that this is a much larger issue. Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. Can I clarify then just what I heard a few minutes ago? Even if a residence is included, I don't care if it's a residence on Dolphin, and I mean a residence that is being lived in rather than being used as a business, but that party, that owner would not pay the BIA tax?
Ms. Polson?
Only if the property is classed by BC Assessment as a class 4, 5, or 6 property. All normal residential homes are a class 1, and they would not be, the BIA simply would not apply to them.
Right. So even though they're included in our map, whatever that map might look like, it won't financially impact that company or that, sorry, that owner. And it's also, as you correctly, and I totally agree, it doesn't signify that we as council are hinting that maybe one day we're going to rezone it. So if that's the case, I am supportive of the map on page 11 with caution, because I certainly, that's why I said my preamble, I don't want to signify that we are hinting that we will rezone something, or indeed if we're removing parts of the BIA, the section areas from the BIA map, that we're going to downzone those. There's no significance to the map other than this is the area that we're hearing from the SDBA that they feel they can support through the work that they do. So with that having been said, and after a long conversation on this, I would support the motion on page 7, I believe it is. And I'll move that.
All right, that's a mover. Is there a seconder to that? No? No, hold on a second. Is there a
Just a-
second to her? You seconded?
I had my hand up first.
But we
Councilor-
need a seconder to
So-
discuss.
Yeah, well, I'll second because I need to ask a question about it. So
Okay.
just clarity through you, are you moving the recommendation? Or are we, so I was going to move option 1, 2, and 3. So are you moving the recommendation?
You're
As
talking to
it's-
me? I'm moving the recommendation, yes.
Just to
And-
clarify,
and-
Mayor, so just the recommendation at the top of the page, is that correct?
It is, but I take Councillor Rowe's point. It's the recommendation is perhaps not as precise as I'm thinking of it, that I would welcome that we petition the property owners in accordance with the map on page 11.
I
And
believe,
then-
I believe staff is looking for a bit more clarity as opposed to just the recommendation. So maybe we ask them what they need from us.
All right, sure. I'll turn it over to staff. Director Yates, what further clarity do you need from us on this?
Well, my concern is that the the top recommendation is more about the process for deciding on carrying on with this bylaw to tax. But the options 1 through 4 sort of dictate whether you want to even have one.
Whether we even want to have a BIA.
No, whether you want to have a bylaw collecting a tax.
I'm Councillor Toth.
Just to clarify, Chair, the way I read the recommendation that's in bold at the top of page 7 is that we're asking we're asking property owners to conduct a petition for a local service area. Whereas if you look at recommendation 3, that's by way of a council initiative. So that's that alternative approval process where we would proceed with a bylaw unless we heard from a certain amount of property owners. So the motion that the mayor moved is asking for property owners to petition us to create this service area. Just for clarity, that's how I read the recommendation.
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
That,
I see where I made my error. Thanks for the clarity.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor, which is the recommendation on the top of page 7. Does anyone else want to make a comment on that? No, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, through the chair, clarification. So that means you're going to consult the residential owners along the boulevard. Is that what it means? Because the map includes them, and the mayor was saying, you want them included. I think they're aware that they won't be taxed. They know they're residential, but they're just concerned about these other ideas which were expressed, which did relate to rezoning and development, which upsets them. They've been down this road several times, and to see a map that is pushing it forward is very disturbing to them and to me. And I think the community at large, if they really start to understand this. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that comment, but my understanding from the recommendation is no, they wouldn't be consulted. But I think it's a good suggestion that in doing so, that somehow they be not contacted, or the issue be dealt with or clarified for them. That's my understanding. Before I call the vote, is there any other final comments? Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. And just to provide some background, when the BIA expanded down Wharf Avenue, as far as just past Rona, it was the rental shop at the time. When the BIA expanded down there, when we came forward to council of the day, we believed that we had the support of the property owners along there. That was a mistake because we did not have it in writing. We only had basically hearsay. And so to pull back from there now, I totally agree with, and I'm totally accepting of. It was a mistake to extend that far down Wharf. But in order to encapsulate new areas, I really, really strongly want to encourage the BIA to get support from those property owners before we make any consideration. I won't be supporting this motion right now. I think we should refer this back to the BIA with a request to bring back an updated map, like a properly created updated map, including letters of support from property owners that are being added to the boundary. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, please.
So
Slogan.
I think everybody's getting really stuck on this boundary. We're in a 5-year plan. Okay, so downtown, the OCP might change we're renewing the OCP, or we're making additions to the OCP, or improving it, however you want to say it. It's possible that I'm just covering our butts so that if that, and we're not pushing anything to get rezoned at the moment, if that turned into something different where it's a tourism zoned area, we just want to make sure that that's in there. So we're not missing out on that opportunity. We're not we're not rezoning anything. That's up to the District of Sechelt and the OCP and the community. And maybe we'll put forward an ask, but it's ultimately not up to us. I'm happy to go to those landowners and talk with them. I've talked to several of them, Diane, on the waterfront in the past. I actually had a Rotary team stand there all day and survey people, including the owners, and they were elated to see that possibly be closed down because they were tired of cars parked in front of their homes and they thought it was dangerous. Don't shake your head because those are, well, that's whatever, however you want to say it. Some people could have been against and some people for. But it, all that boundary is doing is setting so that we can make sure that we're in it if anything changes. We're not asking anything to change at the moment. We're saying if it changes, we don't want to miss out on those 5 years that if it does become a little boutique hotel or a little boutique restaurant or a little mom and pop shop, it needs to be in the BIA so we can support them. And I think everybody's losing track of what that actually, we're just trying to make sure that if it changes, we can be there to support it and they can be a part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful clarification. And I really do want to call a vote on the motion that's on the floor, which is the recommendation on top page 7. All in favor? All against? So we have, I think the motion's carried. I'm assuming, Mayor Henderson, you were in favor? Yeah, I think the motion's carried then.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think you've also heard the concern of council about the working with the people in the proposed boundary. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to 5.2, wildfire development permit areas on page 27. Please go.
Good afternoon. So this is not about creating a wildfire DPA, wildfire development permit area. It's about the timing of getting into the work. Wildfire in the report, which is basically cover that wildfire is an increasing risk on the Sunshine Coast and in the District of Sechelt. In 2024, the district applied for and received a grant to hire a summer student intern to assist with creating a framework for a new wildfire hazard development permit area. The DPA would guide new development to limit the risk of wildfire to people and property and reduce the risk of wildfire to surrounding natural areas. So staff are seeking council's guidance on whether the work for creating a new wildfire DPA should be included within the OCP review, which will continue into the next council's term, or should it be expedited and completed in advance? There is a table in the report with key steps to amend the official community plan, the existing one, and estimated timing for each option if it were to be expedited or included in the OCP work that's upcoming. And staff note that to expedite the process would require more dedicated staff time sooner.
Thank you, Mayor Stapovic. Councilor Inkster.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I will move the motion. And then if need be, if seconded, I'll speak to it. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Yes, Councilor Bell, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not clear from the recommendation that means as an expedition of this, that's clear in the motion, other than to say we understand and we agree to doing this. So I'm not sure if that's what that does. So just some clarity. And within that clarity, what I'm hearing from the presentation is that staff has already decided that if it's approved by council, we can do it. Thanks.
Sorry, please.
The work could be done. I guess I would say should be done. I think council showed interest when the staff student intern presented their findings and we sort of created a draft framework. It's just about the timing. If you don't give clear guidance now, we would just like to know that, yeah, it will be included in the future OCP work, but if you would like to see it expedited and done sooner by this fall, then we need to step up and get that work done.
Okay, sorry, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, obviously this is presented to us because staff believes that we should expedite it. Otherwise, we would continue with the existing plan. I think this is a good idea and that we should approve it. I got more to say, but Councillor Bell wants.
Thank you, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, my question, definitely. I mean, this is on top of mind for all of us. I guess what is, you were saying is the possibility of having the student that we had come back and continue to do work. So it will be a budget item, my assumption at this point.
First, I just want to clarify that staff is actually recommending that we sort of defer it to the OCP work that is going to be upcoming anyways. If this council would like to see it expedited, then that would be the other option.
Okay, thanks. Looking around, Councillor Toth?
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation that is now currently on the floor is unclear to me. I don't see it asking for a specific direction. I see it asking us to confirm which direction we'd like to go. Personally, I would love to see it as part of just the OCP update work. I know that this is important. I know this is going to be of growing importance to our community. But I think in terms of timing, I would hate to confuse our engagement by trying to rush this into an OCP that we're going to be updating or replacing or whatever in the coming years anyways. And so I personally, I feel that it should go into the OCP update process. It should not be a process of its own, I guess fundamentally is what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thanks. So just to follow up on that, from my understanding, if we're supportive of it going into the existing OCP process, we would vote in favor of this recommendation and not the expedited. Okay, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Councillor McCaulkin.
Thank you, through the chair. I think because it's new and it's so important, I think it's worth expediting, because I think if we come up with a policy that is worked out, I don't have any idea what it would look like myself at this point. I'd really like to see it. But I think then we could then take it to the APC before they start thinking about EPAs, because from the conversation I heard at the last APC meeting, there's a diverse range of opinions about DPAs and how they should be managed. So I think this really would be beneficial to have a thorough kind of professional type of development of a DPA and something we haven't seen before. And I really want to stress the environmental DPAs are really, really important. That's sort of why they were developed. I don't even think the stream stewardship ones are robust enough anymore to actually serve their function. So they kind of interrelate to each other as well. So I think it would be quite beneficial to take an early look at that and develop something better. Otherwise, we might just end up getting it buried into the whole OCP process, and OCPs become overwhelming. So I think that would be best. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Rowe.
I too think it needs a thorough look, and that's why I'm taking the opposite opinion of actually including it in with the review of the OCP, as the recommendation states. If we expedite it, we're looking at having public consultation during the summer, and I don't think that's necessarily beneficial either. So I'll be supporting the recommendation as it's written.
Great. I'm looking around. Councillor Inkster, do you have a comment?
Well, Chair, as I asked earlier, it wasn't clear to me what this was asking. Now with some clarification from staff, because usually they don't come to us with recommendations or discussions unless they would like us to consider other alternatives. I would, if it's permissible, Chair, that I would like to change my recommendation from that council confirm policy direction to establish a wildfire development permit area and guidelines ahead of the new official community plan.
So if I understand this, you want to amend the motion that's on the floor?
That I introduced.
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, I'm seeing a negative nod from corporate officer.
The nature of that amendment would significantly change the intent of the motion that's currently moved and seconded on the floor. The best process would be to vote on the motion, and then if it's defeated, entertain a new motion.
Thank you for helping us out there. Are there any final comments on the motion that's on the floor? We'll start with that. So I'll call the vote. All in favor of that recommendation? That is 1, 2, 3, 4. All against? 3, so the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Manager Stopovic. Moving on to first quarter report. First quarter report from staff. Who will be taking this on? Director Roberts.
Thank you, Council. The report is for your review, and everything in the report speaks for itself, but we're happy to answer any questions by our divisions. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Looking around at council for any comment on the first quarter report. I'm seeing none. I think Councillor Toth has left the meeting. He's back. All right, I'm seeing no comments, so I'll take that as received.
Sorry, I couldn't find my hand up. Could we hear just a little more at the top of page 33, the reference to culvert replacement on Deerhorn? Not as concerned about that specific reference, but unfortunately we've heard culverts taking on a bad name. And perhaps staff could comment on what is our plan and process for the many culverts that we have in Sechelt, please.
Director Lee.
Yes, thank you for that question, and through the chair. I think overall in our stormwater system, a lot of it was constructed around the same time. So it's aging and aging out around the same time. So we're seeing a lot of these steel culverts come due now. So what we have been doing over the last year or 2 years was engaging in a culvert inspection program. So now we have all our culverts mapped and the conditions have been assessed. So we're working on batching them into priorities. So what we're going to see in the coming years is a culvert replacement program that replaces these priority culverts based on their condition. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be unexpected failures, but that's our proactive approach to trying to address this this system that's kind of all at a similar age range and coming due. Thanks.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes. Yeah, thank you through the chair. I was listening a little bit this morning with the meeting we first attended. And it was interesting how, things start to come together. I think it's going to lead to a road improvement. I mean, the community complains about some of these things and we think, oh, everybody wants a better road, whatever. But I think like in this case, they're going to get an improved road. Their solution is there. It's been done. And it's nice to see kind of things to come together and actually make people in Sandy Hook a little bit happy about things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's concern there. Sorry, I'll go back to Mayor Henderson. Did that answer your question, Mayor Henderson?
Yes, thank you. I think it's just a flag, perhaps that we have the plan, or we have some of the work in process, and it is something that we're going to be impacted in the, continuously. Infrastructure renewal is what matters these days, it seems, everywhere.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I take it we'll take that as received, or do we need a vote? Okay, take that as received. Moving on to 5. Sorry, Councilor McLaughlin.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank you staff for all their hard work. And it was also mentioned, I want residents to get out and see the beautiful flower beds, et cetera, we have, which are just stunning. I get planting ideas and steal their ideas, and it's a good idea to do that because they do a terrific job. Thank you.
No, that's well said. Thank you. Moving on to 5.4, the Sunshine Coast RCMP statistics. I think we've all had a chance to read them. We've met with the RCMP in the last, was it 2 weeks? 2 or 3 weeks, to have their comment on the statistics. Does anyone want to voice anything? Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. It was just something that I think we heard at that meeting that I think is worth repeating in the public meeting so that the public that's reading these crime stats can see it or can know it too. One thing that they did mention is that when stats are down, it doesn't always mean that there's less offenses going on. It's just that the resources they have might be working on higher priority files. Traffic offenses are a great example. It's all fine and dandy for the RCMP to be out there writing speeding and seatbelt tickets. But if they're working on drugs and firearm offenses, they're going to be doing that and not writing speeding tickets. It doesn't mean there's less people speeding on the Sunshine Coast. So I think it's an important nuance to the data that doesn't really get shared this way. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. There are a lot of nuances to the statistics, and I really wonder if it may be of value to have the RCMP come at least once or twice a year to go over the statistics with people, because I think in the same meeting, I heard comment where property crime seemed to pop up in January, and the officers just mentioned, hey, it was, the weather was really good. So it's just when crime naturally seems to cycle up. So there are a lot of stories behind the statistics. Thanks. Any other comments? Then I'll take that as received as well. Moving on to 5.5, and something very important as well is policing priorities 2026 and 2027. We have a recommendation on page 77. And I will look to everyone for comment on, this is the RCMP's request for direction on what council feels and the community feels important. They'd certainly like the feedback. Councillor Bell.
I'm just looking for any discussion, but if there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve this recommendation.
Great. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Toth is, not seconding it. So is there any seconder to this? I'm going to second it. So the motion's on the table. Any comments on the recommendation? Councillor Rowe.
Well, Councillor Toth had his hand up first.
Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Chair. I'm hoping that Councillor Bell and yourselves as the movers and seconders of the recommendation can explain what recommendation you've just made for us. I have a number of priority items I'd like to discuss, but that we have a recommendation on the floor that doesn't make any sense to me. Thanks.
Please explain why it doesn't make any sense to you.
That council provide direction to the RCMP regarding policing priorities. Okay, what does that mean?
All right, in my mind, because I was a mover or a seconder, it means that the RCMP are looking for direction on what the community feels important. A good example is certainly a lot of the business community would like to see more patrols in the summer. So that would be an item that we would add to a list of things that we feel are important. That's my understanding of the recommendation.
And if I might continue on that vein, I agree. A number of my items are around, foot patrols and traffic enforcement around school and park zones. But we should build that list and then make a recommendation to approve that list rather than pass a recommendation and then build the list after we've passed a recommendation. That just process concerns. Thanks.
All right, process and the wording of the recommendation, I take it. Mayor Henderson.
Perhaps I think, and I support Councillor Toth's concern about this. I think what's missing is a time frame because right now the motion is sort of empty. That we should give direction. So you know, I'd be very happy to support this if it said, you know, we're going to provide direction by, I don't know, the end of May, for example, so that it does give us time to provide Councillor Toth to provide his list and all of us to provide our list. And indeed, I would ask staff to provide their recommendations, and part of that would be from the staff-led technical working group as well. So I think, you know, if the spirit of this motion is simply to say, yes, we want to respond to the RCMP with priorities, I support that, but I think we should have a time frame on it.
Hey, are you suggesting an amendment to the motion?
Yes, okay. Sure. I would move an amendment that the motion as made be amended to add by the end of May.
Is there a seconder to that?
No.
Okay.
I have to add something.
Councillor Rowe has seconded it. All right. Is there any further comment on the amended motion?
So the end of May, I like the idea of the timeline. I think there needs to be maybe a process or someone that's responsible for this particular direction. And I think it would be the technical safety committee would be a good lead on this to drive this.
I'm hearing another amendment. Are you proposing an amendment?
This amendment.
Is there a seconder to that second amendment?
Point of order, Chair. You've already got an amendment that's on the floor that needs to be voted on before you can move another amendment.
All right. Then you know what I'll do is ask our corporate officer to read out the amendment so that we're all clear on it.
So the amendment is to add the words "by the end of May 2026" to the motion that's on the floor, which is that council provide direction to the RCMP regarding policing priorities for the District of Sechelt for the coming year. So that will add by the end of May.
All right. I will look around for any further comment on that. If Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I'm wondering if we're making a mountain out of a molehill here, because I'm just wondering if they wanted some comments from council. Generally, we could have a list, but if we process this too much, we're just going to end up with the same three things. And it has to be a majority vote in that. I think they're wanting a more, perhaps a more open list just from, because this is committee of the whole, right? We're not putting our firstborn on the line or anything. So, you know, to just come up with some comments from each of us, and there's going to be things they can do, things they can't do, but at least if they have a broad list, they can say, okay, yeah, we can do that. But if we just tell them the three things we want them to do, they'll say, well, can we do that? You know, maybe we can, maybe we can't. Maybe we're already doing that. You know, I don't know how helpful that would be. Again, I'm more interested in the product rather than the process. We get caught up in a lot of process around here.
Okay.
So that's what I would suggest, that we just, each of us provide comments. Thanks.
Our CAO.
If I might make a suggestion, I think an idea might be to ask the acting superintendent to meet with council and just have a discussion about this and provide a little bit more information for you, and maybe talk a little bit about how the initiatives from last year or the last couple of years have gone. And that way you've got the person you actually need in the room if you're going to make recommendations that aren't workable, doable, or what have you.
Okay, that's helpful commentary. I'm going to call a vote on the amendment. I think it's clear to everyone. All in favor? That's 4. All against? 2 against. Sorry, I didn't. Councillor Inkster, I didn't
Well, I mean,
see your vote.
I don't really care. I mean, if we need to get the superintendent to come and speak to us, then that's maybe what we should do.
So you're not voting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor because I didn't vote, but at this point, I don't really care. We should get to come and talk to us.
Okay, so
Good
that's
idea.
passed.
Yeah.
And now we move on to the original motion or the amended motion we're voting on. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that motion, amended motion? 2, 3, against? 2 against. Again, Councillor Inkster, I haven't seen your vote.
It's going forward, sure, why not? But I would like the additional motion for it to go to the safety committee, and I thought Councillor Bell would introduce that.
Sorry, now I'm really confused over what the vote was.
I believe the motion carried with Councillor, oh, sorry. The chair.
The motion that carried was to provide feedback on the policing priorities by the end of May. So that's complete. And then for council to have a meeting with the staff sergeant, I don't believe we need a motion for that. I believe that'll just be an operational arrangement that can be made through the executive assistant. Likewise, a referral to the technical working group does not require a motion at this time.
Great. All right, so we're done on that item. And I believe that brings us to the end of the agenda. A motion to adjourn. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned. Is there any comments, any questions from the people remaining or online? Nothing? Nothing. Sorry, anyone online that? Terrific. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.